And now let me welcome onto the show soon-to-be Duke head coach Jon Scheyer. And Jon, before we get started, I just want to say congratulations because you are doing this interview with me and not with Jeff Goodman. I know that's going to make your Monday morning that much better. So congrats, sir. How you doing? Everything good?
It is, yeah. It's going great that I'm doing this with you. I'll tell you that much. So all good on my end. Thanks for having me.
So before we get started into previewing this actual team, I just want to know, when you found out, when you got the word that you are going to be the guy that is going to replace Coach K, is your first reaction, are you like, yes, head coaching job? Or are you like, oh no, now I'm the guy that replaces the guy?
Well, it's funny. I always, years ago, I was always saying, good luck to whoever has to replace coach, good luck to that guy. And of course it was me, but no, it was when I got the call, it was one of the few times I was speechless. I didn't know how to even feel. I mean, Nina called me and our athletic director, and I tell her to this day, she gave me the best call I've ever received in my life. So I was speechless and complete all excitement, and didn't know what else to do but to go run and tell my wife. And she didn't know what the heck I was talking about, but was excited. I told her, we got it. She said, we got what? We got what? So it was a special moment for sure.
Well, that's awesome. And I am happy for you. It's nice to see good things happen to good people. So hopefully you end up doing a good job and people aren't breathing down your neck about how come you're not the as good as the greatest coach to ever do it. So good luck with that. Good luck with that pressure. All right, let's talk about this year's team. The big name that we got to talk about first is probably Paolo Banchero. I think this kid has a chance to be special. I don't know how many people that are 6'10", 250 that can kind of handle the rock the way that he does and make step backs the way that he does. I have a feeling you're going to have a lot of fun coaching that kid this season.
Yeah, Paulo's one of a kind. He's you can talk about his talent or his skill set, but I start with how coachable he is and just his character. He's an incredible teammate. Sorry about that. He's an incredible teammate. It's not about him. And there's Paulo right now, actually. No, it wasn't. But no, he's a big time guy. I start there, Rob. And then, as you get into his game, he can really do everything on the court. He's going to be handling and bringing the ball up. He can initiate offense for us. He's a heck of a passer. And he's a guy that's hard to keep out of the paint. He's got, a great handle for his size, like you mentioned. And then his body, it allows him to finish through contact inside, whether fours or fives are guarding him. So we plan to use him all over the court. And, we feel he should be a mismatch and really the best player on the court, no matter who we're playing.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys have planned on doing this. I hope that it ends up happening, but putting him in ball screens with Mark Williams and just putting shooters around him, I think is something that would be I don't know how you stop that when you have a guy that's his size that can handle the ball that way that he does. And as good as Mark is, I think he's going to end up being. So with Mark, down the stretch of last season, it felt like he really took a step forward, right? Is that just a result of taking a while to get acclimated to college in the middle of a pandemic? Was that just taking some time to figure out what he's doing the way any freshman would? What was his growth at the end of last year a result of? And what are you expecting this season out of it?
Yeah, well, we feel that, there's no better big guy in the country than Mark Williams. What he did at the end of the year was dominant. Like, we really haven't had many guys that have done that. When you think about his rebounding, his finishing above the rim, and just his presence on the court. He's a guy at 7'1" that can run the floor. And we want to get up and down and play fast, but he's also a guy that you have to always know where he's at on the floor. So you talk about our shooting, but another aspect to our offense is just the lob threat that Mark always presents. When he's ball screening and running to the rim, and when he's behind the defense, he makes it tough. He makes it tough on you and for opposing fives. So really love to see the development. I'll tell you, I give him a lot of credit. I think a lot of guys, when they hit a little bit of a wall or they have a game or a setback, they can put their heads down. And with Mark, he went through a year of some ups and downs, but he kept working. He stayed at it. And again, what he did at the end of the season is translated this summer. And I think we'll see him pick up where he left off.
So I do think that one of the most important players on your roster this year is going to end up being Jeremy Roach, right? I think in the college game, you got to have a great point guard to really be a great team. And I think he showed flashes last year, but again, when you're a freshman, you don't get a normal college experience in a season. It's tough to really kind of play that role that you need to be able to play as a point guard. So what have you seen out of him? Are you expecting big things out of him as a sophomore? And, when you got a guy that can play make like Paolo can, that takes a little bit of the load off of a point guard, right?
Yeah, well, actually, we have, we'll have on the floor at times where we have four players who can bring the ball up and initiate offense. And, I think that's what you see a lot in the NBA in today's day and age. And, we'll have that. So with Jeremy, he's our point guard, but he's also a guy that can do other things. He's versatile in his own right. And so, Paulo with his playmaking, Wendell, Trevor, we have guys that can create. And so, again, as you think about last year, we all went through our ups and downs. I did as a coach, and there are growing pains that I went through, that Coach K went through. And so we're in this together. And I think there's no simulation, Rob, for the hunger and the edge a year like last year can give you. You kind of have to go through it to feel a certain way. And so the approach that Jeremy has had every single day with how he works, his approach to practice, and his will to win has been pretty obvious to us. And so I think he's poised for another, big time jump in his development this year. And we need him to be really good. I mean, we believe in him, and I think this is going to be, a big time year for him.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you have sophomores on your team that have never played in front of Cameron Crazies that weren't cardboard cutouts, right? Like that's right. Half of the reason you go to Duke is to go experience and play in that environment. So hopefully they'll get a chance all year, and it's going to be a normal season. All right, AJ Griffin, what can you tell us about his knee? How long do you think he's going to be out, and what kind of impact do you think that injury is going to have on it?
Well, AJ is progressing well ahead of schedule. He's been attacking his rehab every single day. Can't say yet when he's going to be back, but I can tell you that he's moving and looking really good. And, AJ is an important part to our team. He's a guy similar to what I was saying with Paulo. AJ really, he can play with a lot of different players because of his versatility. And so getting him back is kind of like getting 2 or 3 players back in a way. So we're anxious to get him back in the fold. This is not anything that's going to impact him long term. We're very thankful that it wasn't more serious, and I feel we'll see him back sooner rather than later.
So one of the things I think is really interesting about the roster that you guys have this year is how many different looks that you can give people. If you want to go with one of these supersized jumbo lineups, you can play Paolo at the 4 with Wendell and AJ Griffin, and all of a sudden you are just massive. If you want to go small, you can put Paolo at the 5, and you have 4 kind of NBA-esque, I guess is the way to probably say it, wings and Wendell and Trevor and AJ that could probably be switchable and guard different positions and play 5 out even if you wanted to. So how are you kind of working through the way that you can give different teams different looks?
Yeah, that's one of the things we're still sorting through. We had a scrimmage against Villanova, and we had some lineups we hadn't necessarily practiced. And obviously they play a certain style that forces you to guard them when they have 5 guys that can shoot, handle, and pass. And so it was a good opportunity for us to see the different lineups we can have out there. Like you said, we can be really big. We also can put 5 guys on the floor that can pass, handle, and shoot. And we have a bigger team. Even our perimeter players can defend bigger guys. And, there's not many teams in college basketball that can hurt you just by posting you up and, scoring over you inside. So that's something we have to our advantage. We plan on using it. We've always been a team that switches a lot. That's definitely going to continue to be something that we do because of our personnel, but also because of our style that we'd like to play on defense.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too, because this has a bit of a throwback Duke feel. Like I remember when I was growing up, the best Duke teams, you switched everything. You went out and you guarded out to the half court line, man to man. You overplayed passing lanes. You didn't let people run offense. And you basically just said, okay, good luck. You're going to have to beat us one-on-one if you're going to beat us. And it feels like you kind of have a roster that's built that way again this season.
Well, we do. We have really good one-on-one defenders. I think that's important if you're going to play that way. Can you guard the ball? That's question number one. And we do. We have that. Also, if you look just over the course of the last 10 years, right? I mean, as you're playing teams there's so many more teams that have 4s and 5s that are skilled that can also create one-on-one. And so that's something we've always been great in the past is helping off of those guys. And just the way the game is played, you can't do that as much. But for us, we do want to pressure the ball. We are going to still contest and get on passing lanes with our athleticism. And then the thing that we have this year, and it's as good as any year that we have great rim protection. We got Theo John from Marquette. Theo isn't as tall as Mark, but he protects the rim. Mark Williams, Paulo, and then like I said, even our perimeter players have really good size and can come over and do that as well. So I think that's something, as you're playing the way that we play, protecting the rim and not allowing any layups is something that's important to us.
Yeah, Theo John is one of those guys that just, it doesn't matter how big he is. There's an intimidation factor there. When you're coming down the lane, you're like, oh man, look at this guy.
There is. And just experience of knowing how to play. He's been a big addition for us.
So Wendell Moore, I feel like this is a big year for him. He's been there this is his third season. It's not often that you have guys end up staying for 3 years at Duke. What are you expecting out of him? What kind of impact is he having? And it feels like he's kind of a good, almost like a leadership role for these guys. I mean, he's the veteran. He's the resident old man on that roster, right?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about Jeremy and Mark and how, they've been played in front of the Cameron Crazies. Wendell is a junior, hasn't played. He's had 2 seasons that have ended due to COVID. Mm-hmm. So he hasn't played in the NCAA tournament, which is crazy to think about. And, Wendell's been a guy, so as hungry as Jeremy and Mark have been, the way the seasons have ended the last 2 years for Wendell has created an incredible edge for him. And, Wendell has the ability and talent to be a great player. He's been a leader for us. Just like I said about those other guys, he's come to work every single day. I think our guys look to him to set the tone. So naturally, as he goes, we go. And, we have big expectations for him. I think the thing that you probably haven't seen, Rob, or others, is just how well he can shoot the ball. I think that's the aspect to his game he can really show, in addition to his versatility and defense and passing and all the other things that he can do. So we're anxious for him. And, I think this will be a big time year, and he just needs to relax, go out and play, follow his instincts. And I think the rest will come.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. It feels like the big kind of swing skill, or however you X factor, whatever you want to phrase it as, is going to be the way that your wings can shoot. How much can they space the floor? How much room is Paolo going to have to operate? How much room is Mark going to have to operate? And it feels like maybe Joey Baker is a guy that could end up being kind of a whatever X factor breakout role, whatever cliche phrase you want to use. It feels like he's going to play an important role for you guys because of his ability to shoot.
Yeah, huge factor. And Joey is our most experienced player, and he can really knock down shots. And, he's been, he's been through a lot. And just as, look, when Joey's on the floor, you have to be right with him, because he doesn't need a big window to get shots off. And, he went through, some streaks last year, but he's as good of a shooter as we have on the team. I mean, if he's open, we believe that shot's going in. And we have guys, we've talked about making the right play and going from good to great. And if we continue to do that and, Joey's open, we hit him, then at some point they're going to have to stop helping off of him, because he's that good of a shooter, which, like you said, opens up space for us and our drivers and inside players. So Joey will be incredibly important to what we're doing this year.
So let me end it with this, John. At Duke, the expectation, or the goal every season, I shouldn't say expectation, the goal every season is to win a national title. If you guys are going to be cutting down the nets in New Orleans in April, in that first weekend in April, what is the one thing, the most important thing that you need to have happen?
Yeah, can I just say 5 things? There's a, I would love, I can't fully tell you, because until we start playing games, you get such a better feel once we start. And, I think for us, there is a togetherness, with this group. There's an edge that we have. And I think just for us being a young team, you need the confidence of doing it in a game. And, even I'll tell you, in our scrimmage versus Villanova, you don't know fully what to expect until we get out there. So I'm anxious for us to get started. I probably could answer that question a lot better as we get into December and January with what needs to happen. But I feel, you always need health on your side, and you always have to have a group that believes in us together. And we have both of those things. So I feel like we have a great chance of doing what you talked about, cutting down the nets. But obviously we have some steps to go along the way to get there.
Well, listen, John, I appreciate the time. I don't know if I've been more fired up for a college basketball season than this season. And it starts November 9th. I will see you in the Garden. First basketball game I've been to in 21 months. I don't think I could be more fired up.
Let's go, man. I'm right with you. Can't wait to see you there.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate it, man. Thanks again for doing this.
Rob. Yeah, no doubt, man. Thanks. Appreciate
All
you.
right. Take care.
Take care.
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for BetRivers yet, now is the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, it's more secure, and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the scorer's table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young and Duke's Andre Dawkins and North Carolina's Shammond Williams and Michigan's Stu Douglas and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football. That was Duke associate head coach and soon-to-be head coach, Jon Scheyer. And now joining me to talk about these Duke Blue Devils is Andre Dawkins, the host of the Dawkins on Duke podcast on the Field of 68 Media Network. And I'm going to say a Duke basketball legend. I'm going to put you up in that stratosphere, Andre. So it's a lot of pressure, but I'm happy to have you here, man. Let's talk some Blue Devils. How you doing?
I'm good. Legend's a bit much. And I'll just get this out of the way real quick. I am going to be Duke bias here. So
you should be. You got the Duke shirt on and everything.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm up front with it.
Yeah, you're allowed to have Duke bias if you play there. I'll allow that one. Not if you're like a Duke fan from the middle of nowhere in Colorado or something like that. But if you played at Duke, I think you're allowed to be a little bit Duke biased. So
all right.
I'm gonna tee it up for you. First thing I'm gonna ask you, Jon Scheyer taking over for Coach K. I'm sure you've been asked this about a million times by now, but what do you think it's going to end up being? How is this program going to end up moving forward? Is Duke still going to be Duke under Jon Scheyer?
Well, if we go by what's happened already on the recruiting scene, it seems like Duke's going to continue to be Duke. Obviously, we're not expecting Jon to win 1,100 games and 5 national championships over 40 years. Well, I'm not. There may be some people out there that are. I can't speak for everybody.
I am. If Jon Scheyer doesn't end up being the greatest coach of all time, then he's a flat out disappointment.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's obviously huge shoes to fill, and it would be a tough job for anyone. But I'm excited for Jon. That's my guy. He's the captain on the team my freshman year that went and won the national championship. So. He holds a special place in my heart. So I'm looking forward to it. I think, Duke has a chance because of, what's been established over 40 years at Duke to continue to be really good and continue to get, those top recruits, which is, it's necessary. You got to have players in order to win. So Jon's off to a good start. I think he's got a good staff around him, and coach will still be around for him to kind of lean on, especially those first couple of years. So I don't expect a huge drop off, but you never know. We'll see. And again, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, people make the comparison to someone replacing Bob Knight at Indiana, and my take has always been Bob Knight did everything that he could to sandbag the Indiana program for 2 decades after he was fired. Coach K is stepping down, announced it a year early, is handing it over to his top assistant, and is going to do everything he can to try to make sure that program survives. And at the end of the day, especially in the NIL era, with the way that the Duke media machine can kind of promote these players and build their brand, they're always going to get players.
And I think Scheyer is smart enough that he's going to find a way to win with the players that he is going to be able to get. So speaking of players like that, big name coming in this year, the best freshman on the Duke roster. And in my mind, the best freshman in college basketball this year is Paolo Banchero. Dre, you had a chance to talk with him already this season or already this preseason. I mean, I think the kid's an absolute stud. You can go back and find highlights of him like hitting step back and crossovers into threes. He's 6'10", 260. They have him running the point and running ball screens. So what are you expecting out of this dude? And am I right to say that this kid is going to be a first team All-American when things are all said and done?
Yeah, real quick, shameless plug. Go check out my podcast with Paolo. It's interesting, man, because we have really good freshmen come in every year, obviously, and it's always hard to gauge, just in watching highlights and YouTube clips and stuff like that. So when I was back at K Academy, I went around and just kind of asked people that I trusted their opinion on. And I was like, what's up with Paolo? And every single one of them was like, he's the goods. And so that was the first thing. And then getting to watch him a little bit, playing pickup and stuff, for him to be that big, super smooth, can handle the rock, like you said, can use ball screens. He can shoot the ball. He's got a 40-something inch vertical. So it's just like, he's got whatever you need. And so I'm really excited to see what he does and, how he contributes to the team. And I don't think it's crazy to say, he's going to be first team All-American because, he's going to be featured. He's got the talent, and he's also got the talent around him. So, that teams can't just lock in on him and, try and hold him down because there are guys around him that can make plays as well. So, I'm expecting some big things from Paolo this year.
Yeah, and I think his versatility is going to let them be able to have a lot of fun creating different kinds of lineups, right? Like you can play him at he's going to be the biggest guy on the court probably 90% of the time, unless he's on the floor at the same time as Mark Williams. But the thing about him is you can also kind of have him as a secondary ball handler. You can have him run ball screens and let Jeremy Roach kind of be a spot up guy. So I think he allows you to do a lot of different things. He makes putting together rosters easier. And he's awesome. And he's a good kid, right?
Yeah. He seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. And it makes him real dangerous. Just, like you said, if he's at the 5, then, you probably got 5 guys who can handle the ball. So whoever gets the rebound can just kind of push it. If he's at the 4, then you got 4 guys who can handle the ball. Any of those 4 guys can grab it and push it. If you got Mark and him on the front line, that's an NBA size front line, at 7'1" and 6'10". From what I've seen, Mark's showing the ability to step outside and hit threes now as well. So
if he's doing that,
if
he's doing that, man, it might be over. He was so good at the end of last season. And we can circle back to the other freshmen, but I do want to talk about Mark and probably Jeremy a little bit too, because I feel like those are the 2 guys. We always see players kind of make a jump their sophomore year, right? And I think that's going to be even more pronounced this season because all of these freshmen had like the weirdest freshman year ever where they weren't able to work out during the summer and they weren't able to actually spend time with their team and they had to be isolated. Like you couldn't even do things as basic as like have team dinners last year, right? You couldn't even have like a normal locker room experience. There were programs that would have 3 different or 4 different groups of people go to work out or be able to be in the locker room at the same time just because of COVID, like all the regulations and stuff that you had to deal with. So I think that those 2 are going to have big sophomore years because look, they finally had a full summer, right? And the other part about it is your point guard and your 5-man, to me in college, you really want to have killers at both of those spots. So if they can kind of develop and all of a sudden you put them next to Paolo, like that's something that can be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, like you mentioned with the COVID regulations, it was that, and Duke was, super strict about it. They were very conservative with, allowing people to come together. Even to the point where, the women's team stopped their season due to COVID last year. So, that was tough. And, I think you kind of saw Mark start to figure it out as the year went on. And then obviously, like you mentioned, and, as you mentioned, he ended the year to a point where we're trying to figure out, man, is he coming back? He went from not playing to is he coming back, and within a couple months. And so I'm happy to see him back. And then with Jeremy, I mean, having that time around the team, and being with the team and getting to do even stuff off the court with the team and create that chemistry is obviously super important for your lead guard. And being around them this summer at K Academy, and something Coach talked about when I chatted with him on the podcast earlier as well, was just getting a chance to be around them, be on the court with them, have dinner together, have meals together, and just hang out and get that camaraderie has been really important. So I'm excited to see what kind of jump Jeremy makes. And I think he's going to be one of the more important pieces for this team for sure.
Yeah, it feels like DC point guards at Duke always end up doing well. Right?
Yeah.
It just feels like that's a good fit, a DC point guard at Duke.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but we always seem to have a point guard from DC, and the last two won national championships. So no pressure, Jeremy, but we're expecting a ring at some point.
So I think we kind of know what's going to happen at the point. You kind of know what's going to happen with Paolo, and we know that Mark Williams is probably going to, he's going to play as much as his play allows him to be on the floor, if that makes sense. So we got Wendell Moore. We got AJ Griffin, who a lot of people are saying like he's got all the physical tools to end up being like a top 5, 7, 8 kind of a pick if things work out for him. Trevor Keel's coming in. 3 guys on the wing that are kind of going to be the guys that work through, I think, the majority of those minutes. So what are you expecting out of the 2 freshmen and Wendell back for a junior year? I don't know how many people thought that was something that was going to happen when we first got to school. So what are you expecting out of that group of guys?
Well, AJ, hopefully, first and foremost, he gets healthy and is able to get back on the court as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe for him to be back on the court. But Trevor, I've been hearing a lot of good things about.
Another guest on the Dawkins and Duke podcast.
Yeah, right? He was also on the podcast. Check him out. Check that one out. But yeah, I've been hearing a lot of good things about him. Again, another guy who seems to have his head on his shoulders and seems to be going about it the right way. And I was talking to him, he was like, my first thing is, make an impact on defense, and then let everything else, work itself out on the offensive end. So, I think it's important, for freshmen to come in and have that mindset. And I know the coaches love that. And then Wendell, expecting big things from him. Honestly, a lot of expectations for him. I think he struggled a bit to start season last year, and people were expecting him to be one of our leading scorers and our leaders and things like that, but from what I've seen, looks like he's worked really hard in the off season, gotten a bit more explosive, seen him getting to the rim and finishing above the rim in these scrimmages and whatnot. So I'm excited to see what he does, man. And if he and Jeremy, take big steps forward with what we got with Mark and Paolo, and I think it could be a special season.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be a very high ceiling for expectations for this Duke team, and I know people kind of nationally don't love hearing that. We're always hyping Duke. You're always saying Duke's going to be great. You're always saying they're going to be number one. I think this year it's as justified as it's ever been. And I think what were they 8th in the AP poll in the preseason?
8th or 9th, yeah.
Yeah, to me, I honestly think it's a little bit low. Just with how good I expect those wings to be, and the step that I expect Jeremy Roach and Mark Williams to take, and you combine all of that with the fact that you got a guy that's going to be a first-team All-American, a potential National Player of the Year, and Paolo Banchero coming in. To me, that just makes a lot of sense. Now, the big question that I have is going to be the shooting, right? Wendell Moore, we've talked about it. He's not the greatest shooter in the world. AJ Griffin can do a lot of things. He's not exactly known for being kind of that spot-up guy. Trevor Keels, they're probably going to be counting on him to make some shots. So I think that one of the key guys heading into this season is going to end up being Joey Baker, just because at the very least, you got to do this, going to be able to make shots. And one thing that I've heard, I talked with Scheyer at Peach Jam, is that Joey's a guy that's looked really good in summer workouts and in the fall. So are you hearing those same kind of things? And am I on the right track here in saying that Joey could end up being, I hate to, like, the X factor cliche, whatever it is, but I feel like he's going to play an important role for this team.
Yeah, I think he could, man. I mean, especially in those like Mark and Paolo lineups, you got to have guys who can space the floor. And, I've heard good things about Joey over the summer as well. And I don't know. I don't think it's not like he was bad before. And it's not like, we didn't know he could make shots. He just wasn't making them. Or he's gone through stretches where he just hasn't made shots. And, but, it's also important for him to try and show himself in other parts of the game. He's going to play hard, play good defense, and that lends itself to you being out on the court longer, which lends itself to you getting more shot attempts, which
I almost feel like it's a confidence thing with him, right? Like there's times where it feels like he tries to do a little bit too much. And I think the best thing about the way that this roster is built is literally his job is going to be go stand in the corner.
Yeah.
The ball gets thrown to you, catch it, shoot
Knock
it
down.
make it. And when that's your job, like, and yes, you got to defend, you got to play hard, you got to box your man out, whatever. When you see that ball, I mean, this, Dre, when you see that ball go in the basket and your confidence is going, you're feeling good, you're going to be playing harder on the defensive end. So
absolutely.
I mean, to me, it's just kind of, he's got to see a couple go down early in the season. You can't have that kind of Jack White streak where you go a month and a half without making a three. I think he missed like 27 straight one season.
Yeah.
Which, it is what it is. But
I agree.
I think Joey's a big kind of X factor for this team. All right. We
did talk about Theo.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be good for him because, like you said, they got a lot of playmakers around him. And I remember my sophomore year when Kyrie and Nolan were playing, I was like, this is great. So I just, like you said, I just got to be ready to catch it and shoot it. I don't have to think about anything. It's like Kyrie or Nolan will come off a ball screen and I'll just shoot it when it gets to me. And I think it'll be, pretty similar for Joey. So I expect him to have a good year shooting the ball.
So you heard it right here, folks. Jeremy Roach is going to be good as Kyrie Irving and Nolan Smith was the first team All-American that season combined. So big things coming from Jeremy Roach this year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's another guy.
High stock.
He shot 31% from three last season. He's got to be better. He's probably got to be in that like 36 to 37 range. I think you would want Joey in that kind of 40 to 40 plus. 42. Like, you want him being the guy that defenses can't leave. So you can kind of run him off of pin downs and put him on the same side as Paolo and force defenses to decide, oh, okay, are we going to go pinch in when he's coming off that ball screen? Where are we going to have the help come from? Because I'm just envisioning having three shooters around Paolo and Mark Williams and letting them run ball screens. And just imagine Paolo coming off a ball screen and throwing it up like this and Mark Williams coming. Like, how do you stop that? You can't stop that.
Yeah, that'd be tough
if you have those guys that can make the shot and force defense to be out.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to stop it would be, to help. But
putting 7 guys on the floor.
Yeah, cheating. But I mean, if the defenses can't help off shooters, then it's gonna be tough because you give Paolo space to operate and move around. He's going to do well.
Yeah, he is. He's a very different player than Zion, but I think there's a non-zero chance he can end up having the same kind of impact on a basketball team that Zion had on that Duke basketball team. So maybe I'm putting too much expectations on him, but I'm very excited to see what he can do.
Yeah.
All right, 2 more guys we didn't mention. Theo John, transfer coming in from Marquette, great defensive 5. And Jalen Blakes, another guest of the Dawkins on Duke podcast.
Both of them.
It seems like you've had all of these newcomers on. Maybe that's just a trend. Is that something? Maybe that was intentional.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we do make plans for these podcasts. I don't know. Who knows? But go check all of those out. Theo, like you said, great defensive 5. He's actually like taller than I thought. Saw him in person. I was like, oh, okay. He's
He's intimidating. Like he's big, he's strong. He's got the hair coming down.
Yeah, and I'm just
he's got a scary look about him.
Yeah. You just sound like, you good? Are we good? Everything's good.
I didn't mean to cut. I didn't mean to step on. Like, we're good. We're good.
So yeah, I mean, a solid backup five behind Mark. Won't be a whole lot of drop off defensively. He can hit a left hook, right hook. So, he's not like incompetent on the offensive end. So I think that was a good piece for us. Older guy, been to NCAA tournaments, things like that. So I think he brings, a good amount of leadership and experience to the team. And Jalen Blake's, I think, really good defender. Seems to be knocking some shots down, but obviously it's just clips from practice. They're not going to be showing misses. Seems to shoot the ball with confidence. And so I think he may end up in some spots and play some important roles, whether it be in foul trouble or just matchup wise, something like that. So I think he's going to do a little bit more than some people are expecting of him.
All right, so I'll end it with this. The one thing I really, really like about this Duke team is if you think about the best Duke teams, especially from that like 2000 to 2007 kind of a range, their best teams were ones that were more athletic than you, were tougher than you, where Coach K could just kind of run it out, get that kind of pressing, overplaying in the half court, man-to-man defense, where they basically said, you're not going to run offense. We're going to get into those passing lanes. And the only way that you're going to score is you have to try to beat us one-on-one. And you're not going to be able to do that because our guys are going to be better than you. And it feels like this is the kind of roster that can kind of do that thing. You're going to have rim protection. You're going to have a ton of athletes on the wing that can guard out on the perimeter. And I like that about this Duke group. It feels like it's been a couple of years since we've seen that out of a Duke basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, just mentioned Jalen Blake's. He's a guy like that, ball pressure. He's got long arms. And then, you could put a lineup out there on the wing with, Wendell, who's, really good athlete, strong, long arms, AJ, super athlete, long arm. And then Paolo and Mark on the backside. And, then the court looks pretty small when you got those four guys on the court playing defense. And then flipping that to offense real quick, Mark can obviously run. Paolo obviously can run. And then, not to mention Wendell and AJ. So, I think maybe you do see a little bit more, ball pressure, full court press kind of thing, because, we do have wings that can come in and rotate. It should be a deeper team. It shouldn't be, typical 7-man Duke rotation. So we should have a deeper team, should be able to kind of push the pace a little bit. So, we'll see if that's the route they end up going with.
Yeah. Well, listen, Dre, I think I'm expecting big things out of this Duke team. I know that you're hoping for big things at the very least out of this Duke team. So it'll be exciting to see how this plays out. Coach K's last season, the end of a career for a legend. And so it's going to be a fun thing to watch. And I promise I'm not going to be annoyed by all of the Coach K stuff until at least mid-January. And then maybe I'll allow it to kind of get to me. But until then, I'm just going to embrace it. You're a legend, man. You're allowed to be able to kind of go out the way that you want to go out. So
yeah.
So make sure to go check out the Dawkins on Duke podcast. I'm going to link that in the description below. Dre, appreciate you being here, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.